But according to Google, that came out in 1974 from their album called Sheer Heart Attack. That was Queen with Stone Cold Crazy. And if you've never heard the Metallica version, my gosh, you got to check it out. They put out an album in the mid 90s called Garage Incorporated. They did a remake of that song. Absolutely fantastic. Totally rocks. And with that said, hey, everybody, welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. We're really happy to see you here today. Speaking of things that are stone cold crazy, you know what is stone cold crazy? Next week, a week from today, July 1st already. My God, where is 2025 going? It's just, we're coming up on Q3 for God's sakes. But you know what else is coming in the month of July? More webinars. You know what else is crazy? There are 5 Tuesdays in the month of July. Yes, that's right. There are five, which means that we're going to host 5 different sessions in the month of July. So coming up next week on Tuesday, July 1st, Coffee with Closers. That's where our CEO, Mr. Justin Fullrath, gives you the State of the Union and gives you an opportunity to come off mute, ask questions, address concerns, share your wins. Love to see you on that call next week on Tuesday. The following week, that's going to be our very first Toolbox Tuesday, and our special guest is going to be Swipe Simple. And the biggest thing that we're going to emphasize is their new offering called Tap to Pay. Everybody wants to know about it. Well, guess what? This will be your opportunity to learn about it. That's happening on July 8th. And then Justin Volrath, you betcha, he's going to come back on July 15th. We're going to do another Coffee with Closers. But here's where things get really, really crazy. 2 more Toolbox Tuesdays just to wrap up that month of July. So coming up on July 22nd, Toolbox Tuesday, we're going to talk about ISO quote. Now, if you're not familiar with ISO quote, man, oh man, this is quite possibly the most valuable tool that you have that will help to read a statement and generate a proposal for your merchant. So you got to make sure you join us for that. And then that 5th Tuesday of July, on July 29th, we're going to do a Toolbox Tuesday. My special guest today, guess what? He's going to come back on the 29th, and we're going to talk about Clover Fresh Picks, and we're also going to talk about a visual reference guide. If you're not sure what Fresh Picks are, well, pretty much what we did is we went through that Clover app marketplace. We picked some fresh picks for you to present to your merchants. So this way it makes your life a little bit easier when it comes to making those recommendations. All of the invites for the month of July, those will go out tomorrow. I'm going to send those out. Those will all populate on your calendar. As always, if you don't see an invite on your calendar, don't sit and wait. My gosh, just reach
She
out
worked
to
at
us.
Get Beyond also.
Sales, sales at
Warbird.
paycompass.com.
He's our
Can we
DJ guy.
can we get this guy on mute, please? There we go. A little too early for questions. But as always, if you don't see any invites on your calendar, by all means, just reach out to us, sales@paycompass.com. Be more than happy to get those invites sent over to you. Today, before we jump into today's topic, I want to let you know, as always, on Toolbox Tuesday, what do? We present the content and we open it up to you with questions. So if you do have questions throughout today's session, by all means, we're going to break a couple different times. You can come off mute. You can ask your question right out loud, or if you would like, you can type your question into the chat and we'll make sure that we get that addressed. I do have a producer working behind the scenes. Her name is Hind, and she's going to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. Hind, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for playing producer in the background, as
Of
always. And
course.
now let's get today's session kicked off. And let me find my mouse so I can minimize my screen. Good Lord, I'm a mess today, people. It's 100 degrees in Maine. Gosh. Anyways, today, Clover value propositions. So what we're going to do today is we're going to just kind of dive in, show you those SaaS plans. We're going to show you what's a little bit different and why there is extra value in that. And then towards the very end of today's session, man, oh man, we're going to pull back the curtain and we're going to give all of you a brand new tool that you can use that's going to help you to generate proposals. But you know what? I've said too much. Why don't we meet our special guest? Because speaking of stone cold crazy, yeah, he might be a little bit, but we still love him anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, give some love to John Marshall. John, where are you, my friend?
Good afternoon or good morning for those of you towards the west.
Absolutely.
Let's see there. So let me just start by switching screens on all of you.
Yeah. Now, John, while you're pulling up your screen, what I want to do is I want to emphasize to the audience, we did a session a couple of weeks ago. Matter of fact, we did it on June 10th. And during that session, that one was titled Reintroducing Clover. So what we did is we kind of walked you through that Clover ecosystem and just kind of talked about, how Clover could be valuable for any one of your merchants, regardless of whether they need Clover payments or whether they need a Clover POS system. So you're going to notice that when we kick it off today, there's going to be a little bit of a recap. But during that recap, it's going to be a little bit more of a deeper dive. John, I can see that you've got your deck up, my man. Looks fantastic. Let's jump right in. And John, what I want to do why don't you go right over to that next slide, my friend, and we'll start getting this kicked off. So when we met last time, a couple of weeks ago, one of the first things that we did address was, yes, the Clover SaaS plans did go up, and some people got a little nervous about it. Oh my gosh, they're charging even more, but are they bringing any value whatsoever? So we kind of addressed that, but this is a good opportunity just to kind of revisit that again. So John, I'm going to let you take it away, my man.
Cool. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
So I put this up last time. I'm going to put it up again just to start our conversation today. And we want to drill into the value selling opportunities here, both for existing and new merchants. But as Scott and I were preparing for this, I wanted to lay this out in front of you all because these different plans really build upon one another, right? So payments we talked a lot about last time, and in the Clover Go world, and how much portability that and affordability that offers. But we move up to Essentials, and Essentials inherits all of the features in payments, but it also adds sales items, tax by items, categories of items, and both fixed and variable priced items, right? So that's sort of the basic cash register level, if you will, above just a straight payments. And then we see the 3 growth plans out here. And I'm gonna dig into this as we go through today, but really all 3 growth plans highlight their ability to do business on the web. That's why they're called growth. That is what has been added primarily. And we're going to sort of peel back the onion and go through, how each of those addresses that. But let's go back. Let's get in the weeds here for a second. Let me throw up another slide. And let's talk about what is Essentials, right? And like I say here, it's a lightweight business management features. This is great if you're replacing an ECR, electric cash register on the counter, or someone who doesn't have a POS, right? It's a POS light, if you will. So what I've got here is 2 columns. What is the same? Because we know Essentials went from $15 a month to $30. So the left column is everything that is the same. And I want to just point out the bottom of the first column, that is fixed and variable priced items. We all know what fixed items are, right? It's that cup of coffee that's $2.95, but variable price prompts the user to key in the price amount. Swipe Simple doesn't support variable priced items. This is a big deal in a lot of different businesses. Think about, I'm selling things by the pound, or those types of things where it's a fraction of a dollar amount. It's on a scale of whatever. But what I really want to draw to your attention is the right-hand column, and that's all the things that are new to Essentials. These are the value-added features that justify that increase in price of Essentials. Top number 1 is it supports Station Solo and Station Duo. Before, if you recall, anything above a mini required you to go up to the higher SaaS plans. They've relaxed that. I think this is a big deal, and I'm going to dig into this in just a second. They've also brought item modifiers and variants down to the Essentials level. So think about that simple operator, maybe a food truck that wants a Station Duo, but I don't need all the bells and whistles and table maps and remote printers. I just want to ring it up and have modifiers. This can now do it at a discount, at actually half the price of what counter service charged before. I'm going to come back to that thought in a second too. Soon, item level age verification will be a feature that's added, again, in Essentials, so all the growth plans will inherit that feature. Subcategories will be added at the beginning of July, again, inherited by all the other plans. And a branded website, which I'm going to show you some visuals on, is added into the Essentials plan. And I know Scott likes that, so we're gonna revisit that when we show you what it looks like. So very briefly, let's dig through these 3 growth plans for just a second. And you can see I put stars on those items that I think really differentiate it from essentials. And again, all of them are e-commerce or online based. Retail growth, and the top item is not new, but I want to call it out. And it's also available in restaurant. Per unit pricing is where I'm selling 1.5 pounds of something. I'm selling 1.5 tons of crushed rock. I'm selling 3.5 yards of mulch. That is per unit pricing. You have to go up from essentials to have that. So think of weight scale support and all of those units that somebody in a like a nursery might need. Per unit pricing, very important. That requires upgrading to growth. Retail growth supports item exchange, which is big in the retail business. But there's a true integrated e-commerce platform now that supports variants. And I'm going to come back to that later with some visuals as well. The other cool thing is any online sales automatically depletes from in-store inventory. So those two sales channels are linked, you don't have to get another app to synchronize all of that stuff. Big shout out, the very bottom one. Right now, buy online, pick up in store is the only option. Right now, a shipping option is not yet available, right? So it's only buy online, pick up in store for the moment. Shifting gears for services growth, right? Clover was always lacking in this space, and I think this is a great entry. It presents online self-made appointments to the consumer. So instead of having somebody behind the counter taking calls and making appointments and changing appointments, all of that can be self-serve online. And we'll show you this later as well. There's a nice calendar that's both available on the portal as well as on the station and actually down to the Go smart screens as well. The thing that's added for service growth is service items, right? Always had sales items before, but we never had service items. So what is a service item, Scott? Well, think of a haircut, right? How long does it take? Maybe 30 minutes, but who on my staff is suited to give a men's haircut versus maybe a woman's haircut? So I can associate my staff with certain services, and I can define the length and duration of the service. And if there's any changeover gap afterwards, maybe I need to clean up my space before the next appointment comes in. All of that has been created. So that's the exciting part for services growth. It also supports a light e-commerce. So if you wanted to sell your shampoos and conditioners and that type of thing online, it's also supported in that way. And then finally, I want to touch on restaurant growth. We mentioned this last time, and it's very important. It now supports multiple menus, with each menu having a different price. So this is important, as I note below that, for third-party delivery integration, where maybe the merchant wants to mark up the Grubhub menu prices compared to their in-store prices to offset some of those commissions. That's what this feature adds, because before we had to buy a separate third-party app to solve that problem for us. The other feature that's coming online now, but it'll probably be ready by July 1st, is menu assignments by day part. This is a big one for me because anybody who has, say, a breakfast menu that stops serving breakfast at 11 and they start serving lunch at 11:01, with Clover before, every item, every category was visible all day long, and that includes online ordering. Clover now can attach a menu to a day part. So I can have a breakfast day part that has a breakfast menu that changes to the lunch menu at 11:01 automatically, both online and in store on the devices. I think this is huge as far as a feature value add.
And John,
Yeah, go ahead.
John, if you don't mind, very quickly, what I want to do is I just want to point out to our audience, okay? All this information that we're presenting here on the screen, for the most part, it may seem a little overwhelming right now just because we're presenting it to you for the very first time. But what I want to do is I want to kind of pull it back a little bit, because this actually ties into one of the questions that popped up in the chat, which was, hey, can we have access to this information? And the answer is yes. All of you are going to have access to this. Our hope with the collateral that's been created, with what we have available to you, is that you can use this as a reference guide to qualify your merchants. Meaning, you're having a conversation with a retail opportunity, let's say, and you're just kind of talking through what is it that they need. Now, they may say to you, well, you know what? I've only been advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Really be kind of cool if I could actually have a website, but I don't want to do online ordering. This is going to be your opportunity, sales, to just kind of go through these and go, okay, you know what? I see that I can set you up on a plan called Essentials, which will actually give you a branded website. But later on down the road, if you ever decide that you want to do online ordering, I can upgrade your package over to retail growth. So this information is going to be available to all of you a little bit later on. I just wanted to make sure that we did call that out. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, thank God this is being recorded. I'm going to have to go back through and watch it all again. We got you covered. We've got collateral that's going to help you to qualify your accounts. John, I'm going to hand it back to you, my man.
So Scott, I appreciate that because this slide does have a lot of info on it, but it really is identifying what features are needed by certain opportunities,
Yep.
right? And the final thing, and we'll get on to the next slide, I want to point out is that second to last issue there on restaurant growth, and that is if a merchant, this is a hospitality merchant, needs remote prep printer support or order types like dine in, to go, etc. Those are only available in restaurant growth. They are not available in essentials. So that remote prep printer to me is a big differentiator of why you need to go to restaurant growth. Just wanted to call that out. So Scott, let's go through some value propositions about how we might talk about all of this. And I want to channel what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, and that is the merchants that, oh, my price went up, I'm not getting anything more. Well, there are opportunities to leverage this in the merchant's favor, and maybe we need to revisit some of our existing merchants. And I'll give you an example, right? So that first line talks about retail, and if I wanted a Clover Station or Duo, I had to go up to the register SaaS. I had to buy a $50 a month SaaS plan. I couldn't use it on the old Essentials. So before again, a station user, it was at a minimum 50. And then of course, as of June 1st, it went up to retail growth at 85. And they're like, whoa, Scott, I'm not selling online. I don't need retail growth. Well, so the option now, because Essentials supports the stations, and Essentials supports modifiers, is they can actually downgrade back to Essentials, and they're not only saving $20 over what they used to pay, they're saving $55 over what the upgraded retail growth plan is. So again, I don't see this as a price increase. I see this as a new set of feature SaaS plans with sort of a safety net down in Essentials for many. So I was talking to Brad. I told him I was going to pick on him about the Ozark product, and they said the same thing. We'd like to go into e-commerce at some point, but we're not ready yet. And so, okay, let's drop you back to like Essentials at 30, and you're actually $20 a month less expensive than you were before the plan changes, right? And you can see here I've highlighted those reductions in cost in green. So let's take another scenario. Before retail growth offered e-commerce, you'd have to pair up the register SaaS with the BigCommerce e-commerce app for a total of $140 a month, right? To give you that online selling presence. Well, retail growth has now swooped in and made that far less expensive, right? It's $65 less using the Clover e-commerce solution than cobbling together these third-party apps plus the Clover register. And let's say Clover register doesn't have all the features, or excuse me, retail growth doesn't have all the features that the merchant needs, and they're going to stay with BigCommerce. Well, I can now pair BigCommerce with the Essentials app and actually reduce their price per month as well. So I've continued to try to go through and show how, really rethinking this is not, in some cases, it's a price reduction. In fact, in most cases, let's take the services as an example. right? So I had a station. I required the register app, and I used Cagilio for all my appointment scheduling. That comes to $150 a month. Services Growth is offering similar functionality for 85, almost half. But again, maybe they love Cagilio. Well, pair it with Essentials, and now that bucket they had at 150 actually reduced to 130 a month. I mean, we keep going through this. I think this is a perception and understanding issue that we need to communicate to our merchants.
John, I was going to say probably one of the bigger things that I'm picking up on, just looking at this on the screen, when I look at the before, obviously by definition, that was before the price increase on June 1st. So some of those plans that we had Station plus the Register SaaS. We had Station, for services businesses. We had the Station plan with Register and Cagilio. What it appears is Clover actually got a little bit smarter about this with as far as their growth plans goes. Kind of sort of seems like they're eliminating the need for a merchant to have to download apps to do what they used to do previously. Is that a correct statement, John?
Right. Exactly right. They don't have to figure out integrating all these things. It's now kind of all in one of these three buckets for them. So Scott, let's follow that a little bit further and look into the restaurant space. Counter service restaurant, right? Used to be $60 a month. They're now up at 90 because they have to be in this restaurant growth. And I was thinking about this, and for those counter service people, merchants before, that used to integrate all their third-party delivery apps. Remember, we talked about how restaurant growth now allows different pricing and integration of those delivery apps. Well, before, the counter service merchant had to spend 60 on counter service and another 60 on the Stream app, which did the integrations. Now, restaurant growth does both of those functions at a reduction, a $30 a month reduction. Right? So there again, Scott, I've simplified my solution. I've brought it all under the Clover umbrella at a net reduction in monthly fees. So we can't think about just the growth SaaS cost. We have to look at what their total monthly cost is with all their add-on apps and how we can simplify and maybe roll some of that functions back into Clover. So let me give you another example, Scott. And we talked about the breakfast place that wants to hide the breakfast items after 11. Well, before, a counter service restaurant would have to use like an Order Spoon app that has that functionality. That came to $140 a month. Same scenario, restaurant growth now does it for $90, a $50 a month savings. We touched on this earlier too, items and modifiers. Counter service used to spend $60 for items and modifiers. Well, if I don't need restaurant growth, i.e. a remote prep printer, I can now drop them from 60 down to 30. Think about food trucks who don't need a prep printer. Brad, think about Ozark, who doesn't use a prep printer, right? They just want a station and fixed price or variable price items. Essentials can do it, right? From either 50 or 60 down to 30. So I think there's actually a lot of savings and value added in these new pricing plans and the features they include.
Yeah, and to you, the audience, one of the things that I want you all to get excited about is you got two different opportunities happening here. For your existing Clover merchants, go back and revisit. Find out what SaaS plan they're on. Use it as an opportunity to say, okay, you know what? How much are you currently paying right now for whatever plan they set you up with? You know what? I've got a list. Let's talk about the features that matter the most to you. I might be able to scale you back a little bit. You might not need that full growth plan. I could probably scale you back to the essentials plan. So existing Clover merchants, go back, revisit, find out how much they're paying per month. For merchants that you're planning on signing up on Clover, man, oh man, what a great opportunity now that all of you have that information to just kind of sit with the merchant, have that information right in front of you and qualify them together. Tell me what you think you need in your next POS system, and I can walk through this with you, and I can make sure that I can help to get you set up on the right plan. John, didn't mean to hijack. I'm going to hand it back over to you, my man.
No, I like it. So I'm going to leave this line of thinking for a minute, and let's go back to value propositions. So some of you may see this and think it's familiar, but I really wanted to talk about what I think are really important Clover differentiators and details. Um, Again, I go back to the image on the right. I've always been impressed with Clover build quality, with the design, the sophistication. And for any of you who have installed it and know how their modular cables, even underneath, have color codes to make sure you plug them in correctly and line them up correctly. I mean, they spent a lot of time and effort making this kind of like Apple out of the box, right? In fact, if you ever receive one of their stations in the box, it looks like a jigsaw puzzle because all the boxes fit together perfectly. Don't ever try to repack one, by the way. All right. But I love this commercial grade, purpose built, simple to use and manage. How many other POSs are simple to use and manage where a merchant doesn't have to call support or for the POS help or whatever to add items, change prices, all that kind of stuff? So I want to follow this along. And again, you'll get this deck later this afternoon along with the recording, but with these same advantages. And again, I'm going to leave this to you to look at later if you're interested. We're not going to touch on each one, but I came up with questions that tie back to those advantages, right? Does the POS fast enough? Does it keep up with your staff? Does it get in the way of checking out or slow it down? Are payments integrated? So these could be interesting questions that you could use when you're talking to those merchants. And Scott asked, well, John, these are not open-ended questions, which we're taught to always ask open-ended questions. That is true. And it was intentional because these questions are meant to get them to say, no, my system can't do that. No, it can't do this. No, it can't do that. Wow, I'm starting to hear a lot of no's. Wouldn't it be interesting to look at a system that could give you all yeses? So just to frame that properly, I wanted to share that with you. And then let's dig in a little bit about, we talked about the ecosystem last year. And this I will go into the questions in a second, but reliability is top of the list. We talked about all the new and different hardware options and all these new SaaS plans at length. Scott's going to pick up the redundancy question because he's a big fan of all of those options. This app marketplace, we all carry around these smartphones, and I'm sure we all have dozens of apps that have enhanced that functionality. I think Clover's marketplace is now at 600 or 700 different titles. And then we're going to talk about the value of one-touch help and search. But first, let's throw a couple of questions up there. From a reliability, I want you all to think about it. And it didn't occur to me till I was drafting up this slide, but does your system just work all the time? Is it backed up in real time 24/7? And I'm thinking back to the QuickBooks POS that ran on a PC that had a physical hard drive spinning, which was just like a countdown clock waiting for failure. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a when.
It would matter when.
And think about all of your business data saved in real time in the cloud, right? And the next question, same thing. Does it require regular, manual, or costly updates? Again, I'm channeling QuickBooks Online, which 2 years before they sunset it, they sent out bills to their merchants for like $2,000 to $10,000 to upgrade. And then they sunset it 2 years later. So there's a real value there that's built into this SaaS plan. So, and Scott, I know you and I talked about the hardware options, and I'm going to go to the second line there, and that is businesses are having trouble finding and retaining good staff, right? So, boy, could a new POS give you the tools to allow you to operate with fewer staff? And I think the Clover Flex and the Pocket for hospitality to go take orders and payments at the table is one such solution. But think about the benefit to the server, right? They're not doing laps back and forth looking for an available terminal to enter an order in. The order's not sitting in their pocketbook or whatever, not submitted because they're taking somebody else's table's order. The order gets into the kitchen faster. It gets out to the customers faster. I think there's just so much to talk about there. And we looked at that new kiosk, which is beautiful for self-service in a retail environment, where you don't need a clerk. And I could keep going on here, but Scott, we were talking even about Flex as a line buster.
Yes.
How many of you have gone into like Home Depot or Lowe's and there's these self checkouts and it says credit card only? Well, who carries cash anyway, right? Anymore. But I'm thinking of Flex in a retail environment. You get that line at the holidays or maybe summertime rush for plants and outdoor nurseries. Hey, anybody I can ring up with a credit card, come right over here. That Flex, that pocket, use the camera as a barcode scanner. There's a built-in receipt printer. There's contactless payments. I mean, it is a full POS in a handheld package.
John, really quickly here, because you were talking about the Clover Flex, I got to tell you that my favorite example of the Clover Flex, when it comes to the line busting, the holidays, those retail stores. I know like a lot of the smaller towns where I live, everybody loves to shop downtown during the holidays, makes them feel good. But in the same breath, I've also watched some of those small stores have a line that goes out and around the corner, and people get disenchanted. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because whether it's restaurant or whether it's retail, John, when you're talking about providing them with the right technology, we think about things like, your labor costs and, cutting down your overhead as far as your staff goes. But similarly, John, taking orders at the table, making it a little bit more efficient. Let's talk about it from the customer's perspective. Online reviews. Oh my gosh, these guys are so slow. It took forever to get my order. Repeat business. I'm not going to go back over there. It felt as if it took forever. So that's another value proposition that you, the sales agent, can present to the merchant, not only from, an operational cost standpoint, but looking at it from the point of view, you know, how much more would you like to retain your current customer base by having better technology in place? John, I'm going to kick it back over to you, my man.
So Scott, I'm going to pick up on that. So
Okay.
fewer staff, and let's pick on hospitality for the moment, right? Let's say I can run a dining room now with 3 people instead of 4 prior. So not only is the merchant saving on labor and workman's comp and insurance, but again, there's 3 on the floor now instead of 4. Guess what? Those 3 people share the same pool of tips. So their take-home tips for the day has just gone up 25%. So they're going to be happier because there's fewer staff. The merchant is happier with fewer staff. It's a win-win scenario. Let's talk about redundancy real quick and then get on to help. So redundancy, Scott, right? Your aha
Yeah.
moment. What was it?
My aha moment happened 2 weeks ago when we did our session. Unbeknownst to me, I found out that every single Clover device, whether it's a payment device or whether it's a POS system, has a SIM card in it. And that was my aha moment because I went, wait a second here. So you're telling me that, some of the other technology that's out there requires an additional cost. You have to purchase the SIM card to put it into it if you want to have cellular capabilities. But when John shared that with me, that blew my mind. I'm going, you're telling me that a point of sale system sitting on the counter already has a SIM card built into it. It's a no-brainer. Internet goes down, you have that redundancy with the backup with the cellular. John, talk about how the merchant pays for the cellular, because I want to make sure that we get it right. Because if I do it, I'm going to explain it totally wrong because I know myself. John, what does that look like as far as the cellular plan goes?
Well, so we know what the other cellular plans look like, right? You pay a fixed
Hmm.
monthly fee. As you said, you probably pay for the SIM and you might even pay an activation fee, right? So Clover's a little different because it's all built in. You could go into your device or your portal and selectively activate or deactivate it at a moment's notice. So to your point, let's say the internet goes down, I can turn on my cellular service on each or one device or whatever you want, and I'm back online processing payments online again. But unlike other cellular services which bill by the month, Clover prorates it based on your use. So let's say they're digging outside and they hit, the line and they cut it and it's back fixed Monday. So you've only been using it through the weekend. I turn it all off, and I'm only billed for 3 days out of the month. So it's not there for 11 and a half months unused. It's there for you to turn on and turn back off as, again, a redundancy safety net. So I love that. I think it's really unique. And again, even the Clover Go is running typically on a cell phone, which has its cellular service built in as well. So this redundancy goes back to the virtual terminal, right? On any web-based device, downloading the Clover Go app on any smart device or smartphone. Again, there's multiple layers of redundancy, so the business bottom line doesn't suffer.
I like the fact that you reiterated that again, because that was something we did talk about a couple of weeks ago too, where that Clover Go app is available to every single merchant that signs up. So if they don't want to take advantage of using the SIM card in their POS system, or they don't want to take advantage of the SIM card that is within their payment device sitting on the counter, that Clover Go app, boom, shakalaka, they can just do it right there on their phone. And now they don't even have to worry about accruing those cellular minutes or whatever the case may be. John, tell you what, man, let's keep it moving forward because the help desk, the help option is worth getting excited about too, my man.
Before we leave that, Scott, think about that line busting with the Clover Flex you mentioned. Maybe there's town events or Main Street gets closed and everybody puts tables out. Again, I could turn the cellular service on my Flex device and take it anywhere and have online connectivity. When I come back from that event, I turn it off. I'm not paying for it for the rest of the month.
There we go.
Right. All right. So help options, to me, help and that reliability are kind of hand in hand, right? And so robust on device and domestic help, by the way. And let's drill into that a little bit more. I have a screenshot here, and you can see on every home screen of the Clover device, there is a prominent help button right up in the top right. And when you tap that, it goes to a bunch of suggested top picks of things you might be being stuck with. You can see other cool thing for people who know me and have dug into this for a while. Notice the third option is the diagnostics app link. So if you ever think your service is down or it's acting funny, you tap help, you tap diagnostics, and it will show you if you're connected to the Clover cloud or if your internet is the cause of this issue. And then, of course, that contact us option, which I have another red arrow at the bottom. What I love is that request a call back. I fill in my cell phone number, the manager fills in his or her cell phone number, and instead of waiting on hold, the phone rings and they link you up with the service tech. So I like to say Clover Self-Help is one click away. And then, of course, there's always the Pay Compass Help Center. But Scott, tell me about your laptop and Best
Yeah,
Buy.
when you and I were putting this together and I got to thinking about it, there are times where like I prefer to do things a little bit more self-led. I just bought a laptop from Best Buy. It's an Acer laptop, but it has its own Acer help section where it's like, common topics. How do you connect to your printer? Whatever it is that I need. So it's like I've got that available to me, but if it falls out of that scope, well, yeah, guess what? I bought it from Best Buy. I can lean into the Geek Squad and they can take care of me. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's kind of similar here as far as Clover goes. So when you're setting up your merchants, this is worthy of calling out, hey, not every single instant Mr. or Mrs. Merchant is going to require you to pick up the phone to speak to somebody. Some of the things that you may run into, you could actually take care of yourself within the self-help section, and it's broken down by topic. And then obviously, if it's a little bit above what it is that they're looking into, that's where they can reach out to, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, they can reach out to either Clover or they can reach out to the Pay Compass support team. How does that work as far as that line of delineation goes?
Yeah. Well, again, there's a lot we can do, but there's a lot Clover can do. What we cannot do is we cannot dial into the Clover device. Only Clover can do that. And so, if it is hardware related or something of that, well, if it's software related, usually the self-help gets you to the answer pretty quick. If it's hardware related, we really can't help you. Clover has to send, replacement devices or dial in and figure out what's going on. But then again, we do have our own support team as well, as an additional layer, just one call away. So, right, one click versus one call, that's what really sets us apart from other, Clover resellers.
And
Scott,
I know that,
go ahead.
yes, sir.
Secret sauce is this little number. Now that we're all excited and well versed in Clover value propositions, did you all know? And Scott did a little screenshot there for you. In the apps marketplace, there's this Clover Perks or Clover Earn Perks Nearby app. And this actually gives you a nice map within a geo-fenced zip code or city name like search, and it'll show you all the known existing Clover merchants out there. So you can go prospecting them and, maybe steal their business away, talk to them about cash discounting, or say, boy, I noticed your screen has a battery bulge going on there. I think it's about ready to fail. By the way, if it's over 3 years old or over 1 year old, there's no warranty anymore. So, when was the last time you saw your agent? So,
What are the,
but
very quickly, Joe, what are the things that I love about this Clover Perks app? So everybody, John's talking about using it as a prospecting tool. And for the most part, when you identify those businesses that are using Clover and you walk in and you start up a conversation, I will say this to all of you, be prepared. There's a remote possibility that the merchant may say to you, well, I really don't like Clover. This is going to be your opportunity to dig into the why. And the reason I bring this up, I had a conversation with a sales agent earlier this morning, and he was working with an existing merchant or a merchant that he's getting ready to sign up that has a Clover in place, but the Clover was provided by Bank of America. Well, we know how that works. Bank of America, they pretty much drop it on your counter. They wish you the best of luck, and you're kind of left to your own. Well, do I call Bank of America? Do I call Clover? So it's worth exploring opportunities. And yes, you may get pushback. And yes, they may tell you that they're disenchanted with their current Clover system, but it's up to you to dig into the why. Why are you disenchanted with it? Who are you currently processing with? Who was it that dropped off your Clover system? What kind of training did you get? Did you actually have an advisor like myself? Because if you didn't, I would love to help you to just kind of noodle that through so we can get you back on track again. John, go ahead. Take it away, my man.
So I like that, Scott. I'm going to play off of that a little bit too, right? With our support and service team, and with me, maybe they never had the proper implementation. Maybe there's
Exactly.
new features, just like there's new SaaS plans that could solve their problem, but they don't have anybody telling them how they can make that work for them. Again, if their hardware is 1 to 3 years old, just like our cell phones, they really have a useful life, and maybe it's time to flip those to get higher speed and higher functionality. So don't always take no as an answer, right? Dig into that and find out what that looks like. So Scott,
And John,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say very quickly here. I know that we do have some questions that are coming into the chat, and I know that you do want to highlight that proposal to us. So I'll tell you what we can do here. We'll just kind of go through the next couple of slides really quickly, just to kind of
Yep.
give like a high level overview. All this information is going to be available to all of you anyways, but this is the one piece that I wanted to make sure that we did call out. I hear it every single day from sales agents. Man, oh man, I have a hard time going up against Toast because Toast is inexpensive. And when you look at the screen over here, when you look at the SaaS plan, okay, Clover on the left-hand side, it says it's $89.95. When you look at the SaaS plan for Toast, that is coming in at $69. A lot of merchants go, well, 69 bucks versus your 89. I'm actually saving money with these guys on a monthly basis. This is your opportunity, sales, to dive in and say, okay, it gives the illusion, it gives the appearance that it's going to be a cheaper monthly SaaS. However, for some of those features that you told me that you needed for the online ordering or for the loyalty program, if we take a look at Toast, now they're going to start dinging you even more. Because for that loyalty, that's going to cost you an extra 30 bucks, or is that 50 bucks? It's going to cost, I hate wearing glasses on a webinar, but you guys made me do it. Here we go. Good Lord. All right. So if they want the loyalty plan, it's going to cost them an extra 50 bucks. Okay. Well, guess what? Now that SaaS plan went up just a little bit higher. Online ordering, well, guess what? It's going to be included in that Clover growth plan that you can set them up for, Toast, now they're going to be charging them an extra 75 bucks. So Toast is always going to nickel and dime these folks for all of those features that they know and feel that they want. This is where all of you can stand your ground and go, look, I realize that the monthly SaaS, appears to be a little bit higher, but I can give you a heck of a lot more value based upon the SaaS plan that I can set you up with. John,
Well, and look at
anything you'd
that
like to?
bottom line there, Scott, almost 3 times for the annual, extension.
Yeah,
So let's look at some of these others. So I just pulled up Lightspeed thinking about the retail space and MindBody thinking about that services growth space. But again, look at these starting numbers, right? For 2 terminals, base plan 109, additional registers 60 bucks, right? We know the additional registers for Clover are only 20. And you can again go through this later, but look at MindBody plans begin around $129. Well, we know the services growth
around,
begins. Yeah, I don't know what around means.
around.
I don't know why they can't specify it, but service growth is 85. But look at the advanced plans, 200 to 400 or 500 and up. I mean, this is like this is a great opportunity. So anyway, Scott, back to your point. I wanted to pause.
Ah,
Any questions?
I see. I told you guys, dad jokes galore are going to be happening today. So, John, we do look, everybody's smiling. Thank you for smiling. We appreciate it. This would have been awful if the joke would have bombed. Anyways, so John, we do have some questions in the chat. To you, the sales agents, it's also going to be a great opportunity for you to come off mute so that we can get your questions out there. So, John, let me jump into the chat really quick, my man, and let me
Well,
throw a few.
Scott, let's reserve 10 minutes for the proposal tool.
Yep. So let's jump through and let's take a look at some of these. John, talk to us about Clover. Any plans in the future to add a native time clock feature comparable to Homebase?
So Homebase is built in, and its
Good.
essentials plan is included free. There is an upgrade to that, which I think is necessary for restaurants, and that is if a single employee works different jobs, right? That's an important thing. So I think the Homebase Essentials app is the way to go. It's already integrated and it's included.
Got it. And I can already tell who my Clover experts are on this call because they're answering the questions in real time. So to Brad and to Albert, you guys are the MVPs for jumping right in there on some of these. If you do that, print, okay. Our agents are answering the questions for us, John. Can you believe this? All right.
It's working. It's working, Scott.
It's working. We're bleeding into them. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Okay, let me throw this one out there. When activating SIM cards, the kitchen printers won't work, correct? Because
That is
now it's no
that,
longer connected to the internet. Now it's on cellular.
that's right. It's considered a different network. There is a solution, a KDS solution called Expo KDS, which is a web KDS.
Yeah,
So instead of being tied into the printer network, it pulls out of the Clover API. So if you want that full redundancy, there's a KDS app that can solve that shortcoming.
got it. We're all caught up on questions that were in the chat. And John, I know you want to kind of switch your screen here a little bit so you can pull up that proposal tool. Agents, this is where I'm going to throw it out to you. Come off mute. Just get your questions right out there. Don't even have to use that raised hand feature. Let's hear from you guys.
All right, Scott, let me see if I can switch around all my screens here. Stop share. Whoop. And we'll share again. And if I can find it. Okay. So some of you may recognize this. And it's for Excel. There are some macros in here, but you don't need to enable or use them. But I think it's important to call out why, because if you're running this proposal for multiple merchants, I can tap the resets sheet buttons and it zeroes the entire work out back to blank. So that's a fast way. But what I really want to call out here is this is the cover page. As you can see, there's multiple tabs along the bottom. And I have Scott here with his Kiss Concert Cafe as the agent here. I can put my own agent information here and contact information. I can write down what the merchant and I have talked about. and what this proposal entails, or maybe what optional things might be needed, I can go down and I'll see my hardware total, including those 4 convenient ways to pay. I'll see the Clover SaaS broken down also into daily and hourly. And then you can also build in or build your install, support, training time value. Now, the interesting thing is you can, put an hourly rate and extension, but I recommend doing this on every proposal anyway. And even if you don't bill them, give them an equal and opposite, like, courtesy discount, right? Because they're seeing the value that you're providing, right? Nothing is free, but this shows them the value they're getting. And notice I have sprinkled images around this proposal sheet. This is really for merchants who aren't, say, thinking about a flex to say, wait, what is that little handheld device? Tell me more about that. So I'm going to switch gears for a second, and I'm going to go to the far end of the tabs called Sheet Use. Here, I outline all of the different areas that you can customize, right? Here's how you put your information in. Here's how you navigate and print. And then, again, there's a couple other features here. But I'm going to switch back to the SaaS selection page. And Scott really liked this. And particularly with all the things we were talking about before and the nuance and complexity of the Clover plans. If you're new to Clover or just not sure because of all the updates, this gives you all these different features, basic, advanced, reporting, and you can go in here. And remember, we talked about, what was it, remote printing, right,
Yep.
for a kitchen printer, right? If I go in here, and by the way, notice I have side terminals listed here as well. If I need remote printing and I click that to yes, restaurant growth is the only solution. So this will help you navigate what features, right? Cellular SIM included. Well, let's go yes. Again, Scott, you knew this, right? Every Clover device has a cellular SIM included. E-commerce included. Let's go in there. Okay. Both services and retail growth. So this is a nice solution to help you recommend the proper SaaS plan for your opportunities. But if you scroll down a little further, there's this nice little chiclet grid as well. And again, it shows, what devices accept pre-auth, contactless, the connectivity issues, even down here to paper size, which I know comes up a lot just because, there's so many varieties. And what I'll try to do going through time is highlight with these green backgrounds what features are new. And in this case, Station Duo now supports pre-authorization. And as we've talked about, Station Duo and Solo now are supported by the Essentials plan. So there's a lot here, but let's go back to the proposal, Scott, for your KISS Concert Cafe. It says here you've got a lunch and dinner restaurant, a seasonal patio, an 80s rock theme, and you want handhelds for your staff, maybe QR codes for outside. Okay. Let's go to the Clover hardware tab and let's pick our hardware. Well, it's a bar, so I don't need a Duo, but I'm going to do a Station Solo. So I'm going to add one of those. And let's do maybe one Flex and one Pocket. And I am going to say, yes, I do want the 3-year extended warranty for the handheld devices. I don't need kitchen displays at the moment, but I will do a kitchen printer. And I do want a cash drawer for that Solo. So I think I've got everything in here, but notice if I go back up to the top, I have a warning that helps you avoid mistakes. And this says my SaaS count does not match the number of hardware devices, right? I just ordered 3 devices, a Flex, a Pocket, and a Solo, but I haven't done any software yet. So let's go to the Clover software tab. And again, this is a restaurant, so I'm gonna put one license here into restaurant growth. Wait, I still have that mismatch. I actually need a license for each of those devices. So if I do 3, notice that warning goes away. So this helps you properly match up the licenses. And remember, there's KDS licenses now, there's kiosk licenses, so there's a lot of things that are built into the background here to help you, do this properly. Let's just add, Scott, I think you want cash discount.
Sure.
And we'll leave it at that. So here's the fees. But what I really want to go back is the cover page again. And now notice my hardware purchases or estimates are there. I can quote or show all, not do you want to buy or not, which plan suits you best, right? We've got 4 payment plans to suit your budget. I like the 2-year rent to own for the people who are already with Clover because it makes it almost painless. And they also get a 2nd year of warranty. And then I have a recap here of the Clover and third-party software monthly fees. But Scott, I always like to point out the daily and hourly cost. So what is your, up in Maine, what is your minimum wage up there for an hourly cost?
I think it is like $14 for non-tipped employees and $7 for tipped employees.
All right,
Ish.
so all of this system, and remember, we're hoping that it will reduce your head count, comes at an hourly cost of less than 50 cents. Well, that seems like it's a far cry cheaper than putting another body on the floor or behind the counter. So I really like digging into the daily cost, because if you get caught up in the monthly cost, it looks like a bigger number. But for all the hours that these merchants are open, you need to look at it on a more granular scale and think about the value it's bringing or the labor it's saving. So now here's the secret sauce, right? We have the cover page, we define the software, and we define the hardware. So I'm going to hold my control key down and select Clover cover page, hardware and software. So I've got these 3 tabs selected together with the control key. I go up to File, I go to Print, and there's page 1, there's page 2, and there's page 3. And I can print these, or I can go to this export option and I can save this as a PDF and email it directly to my merchant. So I think once you become familiar, you can generate proposals in minutes that are accurate to the penny, that have warnings to keep you from misquoting or getting out of alignment, and have a very professional look with suggestive pictures around of other Clover devices maybe they'd want to add on now or in the future.
John, we did get more questions that popped up in the chat. I want to make sure that we get those addressed. And if anybody does want to come off mute, we want to hear your questions as well. But one of the bigger things that I do want to point out to you, the audience, is that I've known John for years. John is very passionate about Clover. One of the reasons why we worked so hard, we're putting these 2 sessions together for this month, is because historically we've kind of heard a couple of different things. Some people, I've never sold Clover before. I heard it's hard. I don't know which SaaS plan to do. We've heard everything. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to say, look, there's no reason to be afraid of it. We're going to give you the guidance as far as how to position it, how to pick the right SaaS plan. And the nice thing about this tool that we're going to be providing to you, if you've never sold Clover before, well, guess what? You don't have to go in linear order. I got to pick the hardware first. I got to pick the software first. You can actually start right from the SaaS, have that spreadsheet open, and have a conversation with your merchant. Let's go through some of those features that matter the most to you, and let's make sure that I can get you set up on the right plan. John, I'm going to read a couple of the questions in the chat, my man, and then we're
Please.
going to go through a couple more pieces, and we're going to cut these folks loose so they can get out there and make it a fantastic day. Question came out, will you be adding the proposal page to Navigo? Also, the big question, will you be updating the Clover costs as the Clover costs get updated?
So we're still working on how to deliver this to you. We think there might be a problem with downloading an Excel spreadsheet from Navigo. So I know Jeannie's working on whether this might be included on an email that we send you. But to your point, yes, these prices will need to follow the price changes. And the other thing I'll point out is the Excel file name includes the month that the prices within represent. So if there's a change in July or August, the file name will say July 25, August 25. So you'll know if you have opened the right sheet that's most up to date and contemporary.
John, I'm going to throw another question out there to you. When it comes to the warranty, does the merchant have the option to purchase a warranty after the fact, somewhere down the road? Maybe today they said, "Nah, you know what? I want to save a little extra money." 6 months down the road, they might go, "Oh, I kind of wish I would have bought that." Where do we stand on the warranty, John?
So the Clover devices come with 1 year warranty, and you can always add a 2 year extension anytime within that first year. So absolutely, if you have a little buyer's remorse or whatever, definitely sign up. I think it's well worth it, particularly for the handheld devices. Countertops, right, don't get dropped as often, but definitely the portables, I think it's mandatory. And again, the 2 year rent to own, we will back up the second year of warranty on top of the first year Clover warranty. So there's an added value to that 2 year rent to own option.
John, I see we got a hand up. Albert, come off mute, my man. What do you got for us?
Hey John, Gate, man, listen, great presentation. I love what you do. I love how you know Clover back. I thought I knew Clover, but you are the guru. Hey, question. How real is it? I heard this again, don't quote me. I heard from a merchant saying that when they bought their Clover device with the American Express card, they get the second year warranty as well. Is that true? Do you know anything about
I don't know anything about that. If that was something, I think that's an MX sponsored promotion, not a Clover sponsored or an ISO sponsored. And again, those things sort of come and go. So I don't know, if that's regional or whatever. But so I can't speak to that.
Got it. No worries. Thank you, bud. Awesome job. Appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Scott, should we move on for some eye candy before we finish up here?
Let's do a little eye candy, folks. We ran a little bit long, but I promise you, we're right in the home stretch. John, bring it all home, and let's tease these folks and show them what's coming up at the end of July. Take it away, my friend.
All right. So Scott, you mentioned in the Essentials plan a branded website. Well, here's a screenshot of that branded website. So just like the e-commerce platform on retail growth, you could have images, descriptions, prices. So think about maybe a florist has all their different bouquets to entice you. So it could be a browsing that I buy in store. So it's exactly the same as the e-commerce, except you can't actually prepay or buy anything online. So it's really lining you up to get you excited about taking that next step and upgrading to retail growth, but you still have this branded website to show off everything that you're selling. Again, included with Essentials. This is a little redundant. We talked about this last week, but again, restaurant growth comes with online ordering. You don't need a website for this. It has its own URL. If you already have a website, you can put a button on that website saying tap here for online ordering, and it'll redirect to the Clover online ordering. It has images, descriptions, modifier support, all of that great stuff. Just wanted to show that to you again. But the difference now, we talked about this earlier, we've got these different new menus, and you can see here I have an example of online versus lunch. By item, I can have different prices for the same item by different sales channel. So maybe I mark up Uber Eats one amount, I mark up DoorDash another amount, and the functionality to increase by percentage or fixed amount is built into Clover. So if I want to mark all my third-party deliveries up 30%, I can do that with one click. Super, super cool, all integrated into Clover. We talked about retail. The secret sauce here is these variants. And for those of you who've shopped online before, when I'm looking for a woman's t-shirt, I don't want to see 16 choices of all the different colors and all the different sizes. I want to pull down the color choice and pull down the size choice. So it's those pull down variants that really set a true e-commerce platform apart from just online ordering, which is different. And they've done it here. They also have full site search. So if you search for a water bottle, it'll find it no matter what category it might be in. So again, super options in the retail growth platform. Sort of wrapping it up now, services growth. We talked about online appointments, But notice there are options here that look like modifiers, right? Add a design, add a beard trim, add a fade or a taper. So I can have the primary service priced, and I can do add-ons like modifiers that are priced. And then based on my needs and the talent of our labor pool, it will show me times and availability of those staff that are assigned to this service. So again, they're really digging into the granularity of it. All of that comes back here to this online appointment calendar, which you can see has different colors based on the status of whether it's been accepted or just requested. Here's a cancellation in red. This is available both on the online portal. It actually works on your Clover Go app. It works on the station, the mini. So again, it works on across all platforms. And the secret sauce is this. In your portal, you'll actually see a new calendar option under appointments. And you can see there is a new item type called services, which allows you to specify the service length in hours, minutes, and even extra changeover time at the end. So that's sort of the visual summary of all these growth plans. I think we've been addressing comments and questions so far. But Scott, do you want to tee up
Sure.
the July?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said at the very beginning of the call, everybody, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I'm going to send out all the invitations for the month of July. So you're going to receive 2 for Coffee with Closers, and you're going to receive 3 different invites for Toolbox Tuesday. John is going to come back at the end of the month on July 29th. During that session, we're going to talk about Clover Fresh Picks, and we're going to talk about a visual reference guide. Go ahead, John, bring it all home, my man.
So I want to also say that as of this moment, there are some new cut sheet documents on Navigo under Clover, right? There's a Clover family. There's the different summary of the SaaS plans available, you know, the family pick portrait and all that. But just again, teeing up what's going to happen next month, right? We have this cool app marketplace review. So in this case, I want to point out, if you're not sure which cash discount app is best suited for your prospect, this will show you my 2 favorite picks and why I would choose one over the other from a feature standpoint. And then, as Scott alluded to too, we've got a multi-part visual reference guide to, oh yeah, for those about to rock, we salute you. Self-paced learning guide to take you to Clover Proficient, whether that's proposals, as we talked about today, through, you know, inventories, appointments, services, setup, and then finally training guides for your new merchants. It's all here. So lots coming up next month.
Right. And with that said, we're going to start to bring it to a close. Before we give love to our special guest who put this entire presentation together, I want to give a little extra love to to our marketing department. John mentioned that there's collateral up in Navigo right now. And I have got to tell you, folks, John has been cranking out the collateral, and marketing's been like, bring it on, son. And they've been putting it together, cleaning it up. Everything went into Navigo. Let's give some heavy metal horns and some love to our marketing department. Marketing, domo arigato. Thank you for everything that you do. And I know, domo arigato. I love saying that. But let's give the most amount of love to John Marshall for everything that he has put together. I got to tell you, folks, when he came to Pay Compass, he hit the ground running because he wants to make sure that each and every single one of you can find success and feel confident when you're presenting Clover as an option. John Marshall, I too shall give you a domo arigato, my friend. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody. And
All
by
right,
the way,
Thank you
guys.
so much, John.
decks are following, right? All of these screenshots will be following.
There we go. Everybody, thank you for joining. I love seeing you guys every single Tuesday. Watch for those invites tomorrow. And next week on Tuesday, July 1st, we're going to start it all over again with a brand new Coffee for Closers. Until we meet again, reach out to us, sales@paycompass.com. More than happy to get you pointed in the right direction so that you can find success. Rock on, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.